Just to update everyone, this is the November 12th meeting of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee Budget Subcommittee. In attendance are myself, Ryan Tressel, the chair, TJ Roffey, the secretary, Rosemary Hill, member of the school committee, also Brian Hyde from the business office, and we have our two assistant superintendents in attendance as well. So I'm going to turn this over to Brian because I think you have handouts for us. Is that true? Or you have a presentation or should,
I have some information if you need some information, but
yeah,
I don't have any handouts.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have stuff I can give you.
Oh no, I think we were told that you had or you have something you want to give us, but if we want to go into questions first, we can do that. I don't know. What do you think?
My recommendation would be to set the stage, which you have a chair and a recording secretary.
Yeah.
I'd set some goals. I'd look at some information that you're looking to obtain.
Okay.
Process. My idea was look at 26.
Yep.
I know there was some questions on circuit breaker.
Mm-hmm.
I have some circuit breaker information.
Okay.
I think we should talk about FY27 budget development. And that's all I really would suggest, but
okay.
I'm just a guess that you.
Yeah. Okay. So to the subcommittee, as Brian said, setting goals. What do we think for goals, Rosemary?
Thank you very much. I think we should start with the scope of our past subcommittee. I think that there's some groundwork that's already been done. I think we should do a look at what they had and look at their scopes. So if we could have that prepared for the next meeting.
Okay.
And maybe just get a sense of what they have, the material that was.
Okay.
And,
all right.
And then can I make a request that all material given 48 hours before a meeting for proper review? So.
Okay. So I think.
Can I just ask for clarity? When you say scope past subcommittee, just
Why even bother asking?
just help me with that.
Excuse me, what did you say?
That's why I even bother.
I think he's asking, what do you mean by the scope of the past committee?
The scope, the mission of the work of the past subcommittee. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think we're going to start today by talking about FY26 and the issues that are imminent with that budget. I know I have some questions. I want to yield obviously to you guys first. If you guys have questions specifically you want to ask of Brian, Rosemary, or TJ.
Well, let the chair begin.
Okay. Well, my questions, and I sent these to Brian earlier in the week, involve our circuit breaker accounts. So I am new to this committee. TJ and I are both new. This is our first budget cycle. So I'm basing it on, other documentation, but I was not. And I know, obviously, Brian, you were new as well, so we're a bunch of people who were not here for when a lot of these things were decided, but and voted on. But I had some questions about our circuit breaker accounts. So in I think it was the spring of last year, the two towns did an audit, and I sent this to you, Brian, of the school system. And included a breakdown of our circuit breaker usage. And the question I have comes for FY25. And there's a discrepancy, I think, just between the budget documents prepared by John Stanbrook for our budget where versus what the town says. So the town says that in FY25, $3 million was used to offset the FY25 budget. I'm sorry, $3 million of circuit breaker. The John Stanbrook documents say 2.9 million. I don't know if that difference makes a huge difference, but it seems to me that is, I'll take a step back. And again, I was not here for this, but watching the previous meetings in 2022, the committee had a consensus that the circuit breaker money that was received in a year would be applied to the following year's budget. And
Best practice.
A practice, right? Yeah.
Best practice.
Best practice, yeah. And so that looks like it was done according to these this audit from it was called the Abrams Group. It looks like that was more or less done in 23 and 24, where the money that was brought in during that year was then applied to the next year's budget. But then in FY25, it was either 2.9 or 3 million, which was more than was brought in. And so that's I guess my first question. Again, you weren't here, neither of us were here for it, but that's a question I have about that.
So I tried to explain circuit breaker last week. I'm not sure how well of a job I did, but what happens is we provide services to special education students. Okay, at the end of the fiscal, twice a year, and early in the January-ish, around the New Year, and then in June, the special ed department, through the work of all the team, submits all the claims for any students that were 4 times the foundation budget, which is like $16,000 for a kid, the student. 4 times that is $64,000, whatever the number is. Anybody over, any amount you spend on a child over the 4 times foundation budget, you're entitled to 75% reimbursement of that money, because obviously it's high need students, right? So when you put in, and the money, let's just say FY24, the services are rendered. We put in our claims. The money starts coming in FY25, and some districts spend it as they get it, which we are now. Some districts use it in arrears, so they spend it in the following fiscal year in 27. So the services are in I messed up my years, but services are in 24, money comes in 25, spend it in 26.
Right.
Best practice.
Yeah.
So that way, if you come into a financial crisis, which we're kind of in, you have a year to get your act together. In 24 here, I have some numbers for you right here. I'll give them to the committee. And hard to read munis reports, I understand, but I'm going to go nice and slow for you. And I have a couple copies for this. Oh, one copy left over, sorry. If you look at the first page, in the little blue, it should say 2413. Right, 2024-13, right? That's the end of the fiscal year, FY24. The 1.6 million number on the top in the center under a revised estimate.
Yep.
The 1,601,527 was what we rolled into FY24 from FY23.
Okay. Yep.
That was services provided in 22. Money came in 23. We spent it in 24.
Yep.
Okay, so we rolled over $1.6 million. You had a pretty healthy circuit breaker account at that time. You were doing best practice.
Yep.
Okay. The $3 million number on the bottom, right in the middle, is how much we expended in FY24. Okay. The $2 million number underneath that is what the revenue we received in that fiscal year. So in FY24. So the $1.6 million came from 23, rolled into 24. We received $2,055,918 in FY24, but in FY24 we spent $3.4 million. So at the end of the fiscal year, we had $234,000, which is right down here in this number, right in the $234,000 was our balance at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So our revenue was $2 million. Our rollover from the previous fiscal year was $1.6 million. So we had $3.6 million to play with. We spent $3.4 million on our special ed services that fiscal year, leaving us a balance of $234,000. That's FY24. I don't know if it matches the town Abrams accounts, but I can't speak on it. I know.
Okay. Yeah.
I know.
Ryan, if you could. So what happened is, in the scenario that you explained about both ways, and that Ryan said, we have done it both ways in the last 10 years.
Yes.
We have used it and held it and used it during that year, so there was a buffer that you could use during that year when unexpected things arise. And we've also, doing what we're doing now, sort of living closer to the bone where it's expended for that year. And then we always tried to set a piece aside for the next fiscal year so that there would be a base. So you could take what you had saved, put it towards the next year's budget, and then when that other money's come back in the 4 quarterly assessments that it gives you, cobble it to use it, whatever excess goes into the budget for the year after.
So at the end of FY24, we had $234,840.40 in our circuit breaker account. Are we all clear on that? Okay, so let's turn the page to 25. So the top is $234,840.40 was our rollover from the previous fiscal year from FY24. Okay, now we're in FY25. Our revenue was $2.6 million. Down the bottom, $2,621,606. So we had a rollover. We started with 234,000. We received 2.6 million, and we spent 3.4 million in FY25, leaving us a negative balance of $218,000.
Okay.
Following then, we this fiscal year, well, in September, we received our first payment for FY26, which is like 2.4 million. We received the first payment of 600,000. We used $565,000 of that to close out FY25, leaving us a current circuit breaker balance of 35,301, and anticipated circuit breaker of 1.8 million that will come here in the next 3 payments. And I will say that again if I need to, if you would like me to.
Sorry, what was the anticipated?
Anticipated is 2.4 million. Well, we received 600 times 4. A little more than 2.4, probably 2.42 or something.
So 1.8 is what's anticipated to remain to come.
We're waiting on 3 more payments of 600.
Yep, so 1.8, yeah.
3 more
Three
payments.
more of those.
And then whatever the state has left over in the special ed, the circuit breaker account. Sometimes they do an additional appropriation like they did last year. I believe the district got some money in addition in the end of the year. And transportation costs as well. What they do is they pay all the special ed costs before they get into special ed transportation costs, and that's reimbursed at 25%.
Yeah.
So circuit breaker, right now we have 35,000, we're expecting 1.8, we budgeted 2 million.
Right.
So we're in the hole, $165,000.
Just clarification.
Yes.
Transportation is special education
Special
transportation.
Right, yeah.
transportation, yeah.
Yeah, because
It
there's
can be confusing.
there's
It can be
different
confusing.
reimbursement rates, and I don't want
So-
anyone to be confused.
Because that was my second question, was that and I know also we had different business managers who might have done different things differently. And so in the budget documents for FY23, FY24, and FY25, there is a notation. I know at some point I think they were using circuit breaker as counting as a revenue, which I think they're not supposed to do. They're supposed to use it as an offset, correct?
It's an offset, but we use it as a revenue because it's coming in as funds.
Right, but I think they were listing it as a revenue, I think, which I don't know that's correct, that they're supposed to do that.
Well, it's a reimbursement.
Yeah,
I believe the former business director, 2 ago,
Yeah.
John Stanbrook, was the one that recognized that.
yeah.
And then so
So,
we had to list it properly
right.
on when you do the year-end report. or
Right. So, but in the 26 budget, at least the preliminary one that we have, there isn't a notation of how much circuit breaker was applied to offset that budget. So is the answer $2 million?
$2 million.
Okay.
Well, the former business director that we had most recently,
Yeah.
he had pledged $2 million. The expectation was $2 million to the budget in FY26.
So the idea is that the $2 million that was pledged is coming out of the money that we're receiving this year right
Yes.
now. So it's not the money that we received last year that is being applied. We
only have
already went.
35,000
Okay.
bucks.
Right, because that money was used to close 25.
So just
Well, but is the money that we used? So that money was used to close 25.
The extra.
Yeah.
That was in last year's budget, which in a perfect world, there was no issue with going forward to this year, and then we would still get the 4 lumps for this year. Didn't happen because it moved to 25, close 25.
And then so we're using the money we use the part of the money that's coming in now so we use a part of our FY26, the money that's coming in FY26 circuit breaker to close out that FY25. Is that correct?
We used $565,000.
Okay.
$261.40.
So then we're going to be in the hole for what we budgeted for circuit breaker this year based on our circuit breaker receipts. Projected well, it's not projected. We know because we get them quarterly, right? So we know what we're getting, but we have spent part of it already to close 25.
Right. So our special ed costs for FY26 are under budgeted or underfunded $165,000, which is added to the 26 deficit.
Okay. And then so while we were doing best practice for a few years, we are now paying as we go. Is that at this point, right?
Currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The goal is to get back on to arrears, but many districts can't do it.
Yeah.
They're getting caught up at the post-COVID, right, and post-ESSER, and they're dipping into any funds they can, like we are.
Okay. Rosemary?
just some clarification for what you said. So you say, is it revenue? So does it does it change from revenue for the second year? So the first year you get it, I would assume that it might not be able to be considered revenue, because there's some restrictions. But the second year, I think you can spend it a little more freely. Is that correct?
It's always only for special ed purposes. If you don't spend, like I had an email from someone this week who had a plan that was going to have $7 million in circuit breaker. You can't do that. Circuit breaker you have to spend or they take it back. It's not like it's our money. You can use it for special ed. You have 1 year to spend it, or 2 years to spend it. And if you don't, you got to give it back. So I get some email from someone this week saying, we're going to save up circuit breaker for years to come. I'm like, give them a little knowledge and they look out.
Okay. Thank you.
Rosemary? Yep.
Thank you. I just want to make a point that anything that we're mentioning in this meeting has to be put into the record.
Okay.
So it wasn't listed,
Yeah.
any document.
Right, yep.
You should make sure that it's,
So I'll make sure that this is sent to the full committee.
thank you.
Yep.
I guess I have a question that I'm not following here.
Okay.
I understand the idea if we pledge this $2 million to be an offset to special education costs. I guess my question is, where does the budget reflect that?
The special education, I think they use it for tuitions. Is that what we're using it for?
For 2 lines, they use it for,
I think it's tuitions.
they use it for
They basically have $4 million in tuitions. The only appropriating.
collaboratives and district-wide tuition to other schools.
Yeah, so
Those 2 lines.
our special ed out-of-district students. So we budgeted, let's say we need $5 million. We only budgeted $3 million because we know we have $2 million in circuit breaker. So we asked the taxpayers of Whitman-Hanson just to pay $3 million for special ed services for this fiscal year, tuitions. Even though we need $5 million, we only asked for $3 million because we have $2 million coming in from circuit breaker. Just like your athletic department. Okay, athletic department's probably $500-600 grand. We only budget $200 grand. So our athletic director has to, have bake sales to raise money to pay for the softball team.
I think he's having a cool
The concert.
concert.
Yeah. Again, it's the values of the community. You don't value athletics, don't value athletics. It is what it is. But
So, just to make sure I understand this, essentially that $2 million doesn't show anywhere in the revenue pool, but it also doesn't show anywhere in the expense pool because it's not really it's not part of the
I
assessment.
don't know if they claim it as revenue. But again, I'll write that down and I'll find the answer for you. I don't know how it's posted in the district.
Well, like I said, I think in previous budgets, it would be listed as, I think,
An offset.
yeah, we listed, I think initially, like I said, at one point it was listed as a revenue, which I think they corrected, and it was listed as an offset, like in FY25, and this is document 12 from the FY25 documents that John Stamberg produced. It said, no, current circuit breaker revenue has been utilized to offset special education expenses in the budget. Simply the SPED tuition to other schools budget account number, and he gives the account number, has been reduced as follows. And then he lists it here as it says Fund 4,000. It says SPED costs, and then it gives the amounts for FY23, FY24, and then the FY25 budget, because this was a document prepared in 2024 for the 25 budget, where it says $2.9 million was the amount. So in the FY26 budget, there isn't, and again, I know it's a difference of business managers, so they might have done differently, but I think TJ's point is that there's no point is that money accounted for anywhere. It's just is an offset that doesn't show up anywhere, which is why I had a question about how much was used or pledged to use from circuit breaker for FY26.
Yeah, I'll do some homework on how circuit breaker is posted in the district. I had a question. You just said something about the tuitions.
It's not a few.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. But
John put it in 2000 that year. He put SPED to make sure people knew that was that account.
Oh yeah, I remember.
The account number is district-wide, not the account number. The account name is district-wide tuition to other schools.
Right.
So when we get into
Tuition and collaboratives, two areas that our students are not willing to go to.
So I don't want to jump around, but
Yeah.
when we do develop, with your permission, when we go through the budget process, and I'm going to give you a budget calendar, which I hope you would approve, what we're going to be doing is we're going to list all the expenses to run the schools. And then we're going to offset those expenses by circuit breaker, by Title I, by the 240 grand for special ed, whatever it might be, athletic revolving. And then everyone will see this is what it really costs to educate the students of Whitman-Hanson. This is what we have coming in for alternate funding sources through the things I just mentioned, and this is a general fund request for the taxpayers of Whitman-Hanson. I'm not quite sure you did that in the past, but because like you just asked about the circuit breaker, there shouldn't be any questions on circuit breaker. It should be on the website. Everyone can see what our budget, what our expenses are, and then the taxpayers can truly say it's not $64 million to run the schools. It's more like 68, 69, 70 million to run the schools. But I think it's a $64 million budget.
I think that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
The 64 million is not really what we spend to run.
So we want a
the
total operating cost.
You usually have
Right.
a pie
I'll on your board.
usually had a pie graph that basically said the total number for the district, and it was like here's from the general fund, so that's the whole
Yeah.
one account, which is all the lists, and then it would say X number. Then I would have a sliver. That sliver would be from a grant, and then that sliver would be from a donation or something. So the whole pie chart is the total amount to run the district. What we're talking about right now in the payroll deficit that we're having and or the expenditure deficit that we're having is coming from the general account, which is your 0001 account, which is your general ledger.
Yeah, TJ, I agree with you saying 100%. You want to know what does it cost to educate our kids?
Correct.
And you're right, circuit breaker was a show up.
And
Yeah.
that's what some of the confusion that has come, or some of the misgivings that has taken place, is that we had the ability always to use revenue if there was an expense overrun. And I think what took place was that we didn't get to the core root of the problem, which was we're spending $150 a month on groceries when we only have 100. So we get gift certificates some months, so we still spent 150. We didn't fix, just start spending $100. And when you look at it, and you look at you have shrinking circuit breaker funds, and you look at now we don't have that buffer, we are now paying the price for having that grocery bill that we covered with other means instead of just the means that was in that payroll line, because we had a deficit last year that was both payroll, that was expenses, that was covered, or not covered. That covered sounds like we're covering something up. That was closed with what was allowable. The issue became we did not stop and put the regulatory safeguards, I believe, in place so that we would say, did we stop the expenditure outlay? Did we stop that? Or were there other pieces of revenue available to cover it?
Right, but I think if there was, and again, that was my question about the circuit breaker money, because the circuit breaker money, if we had more of it, could cover more of our special ed costs. That without that extra, I don't say extra circuit breaker money, but without more circuit breaker money money that's being taken from the general fund.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That cushion was there from last year to this year because there wasn't a deficit. Then those, let's call them overruns, could have been applied to the appropriate special ed accounts, and that's okay. And you still would have had extra circuit breaker to go into the next year to continue that cycle always. That is not what took place because of expense overruns, and as a result of that, we had to use it as it was coming. We had to use it, and it didn't build.
So I think that at least answers one question for me, which is that we are using money that is coming in for FY26 that with the best practice that you guys had used in past years would have been applied to 27. We're using now as pay as we go through the year. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's perfectly acceptable. Many, I would probably say most districts do that. The districts I'm in, I'm trying to go into the arrears. I always like to have a year out in case it's a crisis.
Right. Well, obviously we're in a crisis now,
Right.
so it would be nice if we, if there was a situation where we had extra circuit breaker money from FY that we collected in 25 that we could use as a buffer that we don't have now. So that was, I think, the question I have, because I was looking at this and seeing, again, based on the different figures, I have a figure when I did it out mathematically, I got 750,000. The Abrams got 650,000 was the ending balance at the end of the year of circuit breaker. Before that money was used to close out FY25.
Yeah.
Because this was prepared before that happened. And I was worried or curious if we were pledging FY20 money that we're collecting FY26 to FY27, but it sounds like instead what we will be doing is pledging the money that will be coming in FY27 to the FY27 budget as it comes in. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing now for FY26.
Okay.
Just for some clarity. When we're saying we're spending more than we were spending it on paras, we were spending it on, so were we spending it on things we didn't need?
No, it was done in order to make sure that we could educate the students of Whitman-Hanson in the best way possible.
Okay, thank you.
So that's circuit breaker.
All right.
Do you want to continue, or are we done with that?
I think we're done. I mean,
Anything else for circuit breaker?
Nothing else for
yeah,
circuit breaker.
yeah.
Hearing none. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Do you want me to continue with 26?
Sure. Does anyone in the TJ, Rosemary, do you have any questions that you want to?
I'm here to listen.
Okay.
So I think my goal is to figure out what information you're looking for. Like Rosemary came today and said, do you have documents for tonight? I was like, I really don't know what you're looking for. I have information. I'll bring it with me, but I don't want to just give you stuff that you don't really want. So
I do
Yes.
believe, though, I wasn't part of the budget subcommittee in 2022-23 when it started. Found the scope.
Oh,
That's
geez.
why I asked for the word, because I didn't know what you were saying.
Yeah, it was scope. Yep, that's
Yeah,
what I was
so,
exactly.
And some of that was that the business director at the time would come with what he felt.
Was
the
that
budget
Tuffy?
Subcommittee. That was Tuffy, and then led into John Stabrook.
Okay.
Then that would come into with things that are on the horizon in the scope of a yearly budget that the committee would think to talk about. I remember hearing about it. One was on OBRA, and one was on the budget cycle for the next year. One was on any influences or anything that we would like to get out if we thought we were going to bring back foreign language, the committee would weigh in and talk about that. So from what I could gather here, the direction was by the business director bringing pertinent information based on the budget, because that's the person who knows to move forward from there.
So just some clarification, because you stated he was the business director and he was hesitant to take that role. What is your role?
Oh, I don't know.
What is your role?
My role, I'm providing business office services. That's what we do.
But not the business director.
Well, I'm not the business director.
yeah,
That's an
I
employee of
guess.
the district,
Okay, they keep referring. Do we have a
I
business
know.
director? Yeah.
You don't have the superintendent is the acting
Yeah.
finance director, based on his license. Basically, we go into school districts and we put out fires. Sometimes, like I said the other day, sometimes they just need someone to help with payroll or budgeting process. Often we call them to districts that are struggling to find a business director. So we come in and we just make sure that people are getting paid, bills are getting paid, procurement's being done appropriately. That the budget is you're getting reimbursement for your middle school. So I don't really want the title. I don't, we're not taking the title. We're just here to
But
do it under your whim.
but from what George just said in terms of the way that
This meeting.
what just now,
yeah.
just like 2 minutes ago,
Yeah.
that the way that the previous subcommittee would work was that the business director, the person in charge of business operations, or whoever, would be coming into the subcommittee with issues, things on the horizon, kind of like
Been here such a short time.
Yeah,
Bring them to the chair. The chair would set the agenda.
Right.
And
Yes.
then we provide information.
Now, this is in 3 different colors. It's highlighted. This still says draft. This is just what I have,
Yeah.
what I pulled up. But if you want me to read the part I was just referring to.
Yeah, just before you do that, maybe the was it a 5-year plan that you came up with? Maybe having that to have structure to the direction that we.
I believe that was 23 through 28, the 5
Yep.
years plan.
Yeah, I think that's still relevant now, and in terms of financially how we're keeping on pace with that, and so that's the next document that we'll be reviewing. I think.
5-year plan. Yeah.
Thank you. And then kind of take those 2 documents together and sort of look at how we can move forward. Thank you.
I'll present them to whatever title Mr. Hyde's going by,
Mr. Hyde title.
so he can present it.
The punching bag lately.
Welcome aboard.
But again,
We are.
but then so
Like,
the idea
where's
would
the love for people.
the idea is that the chair would meet with you to work on the agenda for a future budget
I'm not going to
subcommittee.
set your agenda.
Yeah.
I'm a guest at your meeting.
Right. Okay.
But I'd be happy to tell you what's
But
going on.
I think George was saying that the previous business directors had more of a, just based on what you're reading there. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I
Just
don't know what took place.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that it says right here, next steps for 22-23. Act as a sounding board for the Director of Business and Finance. Specifically, the Director of Business and Finance will share reports, concepts, and ideas whenever they think appropriate for review, comment, and prioritization by the subcommittee.
So just for some history here, Mr. Tuffy was connected to the district for a while before it had come back quickly, correct?
No, Mr. Tuffy was a retired business director
Correct. Oh, is it just Silver Lake?
who was also superintendent and business director in Silver Lake.
Okay.
Was then in Cohasset.
Coho, that's where I met him.
Cohasset was
Yeah.
a retired gentleman who's wonderful. And he then came to us. So he brought a lot of his knowledge, figures, experience, and that's what then became, then when he retired, it's like Rob Berkowski, I think he retired 4 times. When he finally retired from us, that led
Can I see the document?
Mrs.
John?
Danbrook coming.
Which one? This one?
Yeah, the stuff. So when Mr. Tuffy came, one of the corrections he did make was to circuit breaker, if I remember correctly, and he held back a year so that we could have that best practices. I think that was misinterpreted as not spending all your money on the thing, if I remember correctly. And if you could correct me,
I do remember some.
and I don't have that here, they don't have it back. So he started some of the better practices that maybe we haven't really implemented. What year was that? 2019.
Oh, well, so I went back and watched the meeting where they, and it was not a vote of the committee, it was a consensus of the committee that they would use this best practice. It was, I want to say January, February of 2022. I can get the actual date of the meeting and send it to you guys. But I did watch that. So that was fall for 23 and 24, and it looks like in 25 that because of using more circuit breaker, there wasn't money to apply ahead of time, so then we went to the pay as we go, it seems like, after 25.
And also, one of the reasons you probably had so much money in your circuit breaker, because the feds were just tossing money at us. We had all this extra money, and we couldn't spend it. And we were buying vans and plows and anything you could spend it on. And so I think what happened was you weren't touching a circuit breaker because you didn't need to. And then all of a sudden you have to. This town's not loaded. This is an affluent community. I know I think it's 30% low income. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot of commerce and
2 towns.
Amazon. 2 towns, right?
Yeah, one town is not 30% low income because we have.
Well, our district.
Yeah, our district is, and that's primarily from one town.
Hey, by the way, those special ed numbers I read the other day, those are last year's numbers. I was corrected as well.
Okay.
We have different numbers this year. Our special ed numbers went from 565 to 690 in 1 year. I don't know how you got a 20% increase in your special ed population. I don't even know if that's accurate, but at the end of the day, I'm not making any judgment. I'm just saying this is what we have on the record. That doesn't make sense. How do you go 20 double-digit increase in special ed in 1 year? It doesn't make sense to me.
We had
Buses move in?
we had a daycare that had some special ed kids. We had our this year we had something move out. Our Head Start moved out, and of course, to apply for the Head Start, a lot of kids would have special needs. So these are, I don't know, but these might be possibilities to why we may have ended up with, and I would check out if it was early education where we saw those jumps, but we did have a large Head Start building in town, and that did service a large amount of special ed children, and that is no longer with us. So I don't know if the parents chose to come in district or what happened, but.
I don't know. I know 125 kids overnight. That would have been good, extraordinary relief last year.
Yeah.
If those numbers were, if they were actual numbers. Okay, so let's move on to 26. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's just samples of these reports.
Did we do it last year correctly? Did we report last year correctly? Did we have more special ed kids and not report correctly?
Well, this year we went from 565 to 690. Ballpark.
I know that we did have some increases in special ed. The issue is not the increases in special ed. The issue is when you have an increase in something, you need to make sure that the money sources that you have as a whole need to be readjusted and prioritized if you need to have an increase on this area. So I know that there's a lot out there that says this is a special ed problem, but this is not a special ed problem. This is students who have needs, who live in Whitman-Hanson need to get what they need, and the bottom line is we have to take care of that and provide for that. Again, I think when you look at it, because everybody's got a view that they're looking at this from, I think that if there was going to be an increase here, then we have to look at a restructuring of here, whatever that is. So does that mean that then there should have been, could have been, would have been, look at what is the class size overall in certain areas that might need to either rise because we have to shift resources from this pot to accommodate either a changing bubble, a changing demographic, a changing whatever. And I think that's what it's needed. It's not the fact that special ed caused any problem. It didn't. Kids in Whitman-Hanson deserve the best they can get all the time. The issue lies with, were there the things in place, did the things take place to say, this is the whole pie? If this pie is a bigger chunk, how do we redistribute from the rest of it so that we can accommodate every student's needs?
Well, George, you bring up, and a couple of questions about revenue and revenue sources have come up. You asked about grant or money earlier. We're talking about circuit breaker, maybe a large list of all revenue sources. And I think we had spoken about stabilization accounts in the town. I know we restructured when I was on finance committee, and we did a combined. I will look at the minutes to see if those are ours and how the law is applied, but it is my understanding that some stabilization accounts are controlled by the school committee and the treasurer of the town. So I will double check.
Yeah, I researched this after our conversation. So I think you were referring to Chapter 70, 16 and a half. It's on Mass General Law, Chapter 70, Section 16 and a half G, I think it is.
I think it's Chapter 74 because we're doing regional schools.
No, I think Mass General Law is Chapter 70.
I think I'm referring to the regional school stabilizations. They're very specific.
Right. But I think the regional, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. It's either 72 or 74 because 70 is just the 70 funding. So I will review it and we can bring it up. I think it's a waste of time right now during the introduction, but I will go in. Additionally, I'll get the minutes for when it was voted in and to make sure. Thank you.
Regional schools can do capital stabilization accounts. And that's at 70, 16 and a half.
It is a capital stabilization account.
Right. So that would just be for capital projects for schools. But
we're not dealing with that is what you're thinking. I'm just, what I had asked for was all revenue sources. So when we're looking at capital, if it's coming out of a general fund or anything else, we know that possibly we could find money to move in there. That's all. We'll figure it out. Thank you.
Okay. So in front of you, you have exact same numbers, two different formats. Okay. One says year-to-date budget report, and one says budget report by location. Mm-hmm. So I'm just giving you two samples of how you'd like your information. If you, the first one says year-to-date budget report. That's broken down by DESI function code. So the little blue boxes have a number and a description. 1210 superintendent, 2304 classroom teachers, 3400 athletics, whatever it might be. So I personally like to have it by DESI function code, but then it breaks off into schools on each one. Some people, and I like it this way too, is that just by location, Indian Head, Whitman Middle School, the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School. It's broken down by location. So we can print these up either way you'd like, but this is every single line in our budget. This is all the information I have. There's nothing else up the sleeve. There's no other information. This is everything that we have in our munis financial system.
The general ledger.
Yeah,
for the general fund.
For the general ledger
Yeah.
fund. Yeah, I mean, we don't think there's something up the sleeve. We just other possibilities.
This does not take into account the 4,000 or the 6,000 which you're creating.
1,500.
Yeah, so no Title I, nothing else.
General ledger account.
Okay, thank you.
This is general fund, and it's two formats of how you like it. But I spent yesterday and over the weekend, going through each line, and saying where is there opportunities to investigate. And I made my little list. I think that might be helpful if you went through them and found out you had any questions, write them down and bring them to us. We'll see if we can answer them. Some of them, like for example, we talked today about facilities. Let's say this contracted services has $90,000.
So yeah.
We have to find out how that was budgeted, what that $90,000 entails. Is it HVAC? Is it a plumber coming in? Is it elevators? I mean, whatever is contracted, but it's not all been encumbered. So we really can't hit that until we go through line by line of what is needed from that line, what has been budgeted from that line, and then we can see if there's any savings in those particular lines.
So as of this morning I've done this now 3 times, as of this morning at 7:30 a.m., there is potential savings in some of our expense lines. But what we have to realize is I wasn't really talking. And being at those meetings, what we have to realize is that there's a payroll deficit. The sad news that's taking place right now is to stop the payroll deficit. The payroll deficit compounds. So with every time someone gets paid biweekly, there's an extrapolation of payroll. So for example, you might start out with $27,000 one month, one pay period. There's 26 pay periods for most people, some get 22 pay periods. You then, if you run it the next 2 weeks later on the next pay period, the number gets larger, because what you're doing is you're paying that person more money than you're saving by not paying them, basically, and it compounds. So the issue with the payroll extrapolation report, not the issue, but what the thought was, is that you have to stop that payroll. You have to stop that expense from getting larger and compounding. There was a school of thought that the compound might be about 1.9 million in June. So therefore, it's estimated at about 800,000 takes place now. Aside from that, you have some critical areas and expenses that look like they're going to be high. One was already discussed here tonight. You have approximately a $200,000 shortfall on circuit breaker.
165, yeah.
165. You then also have the potential of everyone in the state, and it's out there, the retirement bill came in much higher, like $500,000 to $600,000.
660,000.
$660,000 higher. And then you have unemployment costs and separation costs that are now averaging more than we have. Now that does not take into account any overruns that might come up in substitutes. We have 2 different lines for substitutes. We have $50,000 for every school in long-term substitutes. That means you blow out a knee, you have a baby, all of that long-term. We also have $20,000 per school in short-term or daily subs. What happens at the end of the year is that you basically say, okay, the common school had a great year. The high school had 3 people out. You sort of use those funds to project. Those funds are hard to project because you never know who's going to be out for the year or whatever takes place. So there's an expenditure piece. The ultimate goal is that by doing what sadly we have to do with the people, is that stops the payroll. So that puts payroll back in line so there's no deficit at the end of the year. The expenses, what we're trying to do is we already know that there's some holes and there's some overruns in expenses. So what we're now trying to do is say, can we internally stop and fix the expenses by basically freezing and not going further? So roughly, and I know schools still have to run, like if it's a real bad winter, if you believe my father-in-law, the squirrels are all fat, and there's a bunch of nuts, tapeworms on the ground, it's gonna be a hell of a winter. I've left some money in those accounts and taken some out, but we have projected, as of this morning, a $409,000, $656 savings that we could accrue, barring whatever, water pipes, barring what we know today. So that's the goal on 2 fronts, is to stop the payroll, is to stop the expenses. Stop the expenses, hopefully from within, stop the payroll from sadly just cut. If those things happen, then the goal would be is to fix the root of the cause as you go into 27 so that you can be back on track, whatever that track looks like, because it's going to be lean.
Okay, so thank you so much. As you know, I'm always looking at the warrants, and there's a question about, and John Stamberg went in and he reviewed our capital and he sent bills to the town that were appropriate for the capital. Can you define what is considered capital? And can we review?
I can do that.
Difficult when there's 3
Yeah, I mean,
audio tapes on me, and
I
can.
Hold on, give it a go.
can tell
You're a
you
movie
what-
star. We're going to powder you. This is it. Reimbursable capital from the towns. Can you define that within our regional agreement?
Well, I will say this, I'm going to give it a best shot. It might not be perfect.
Okay.
I'll try my best.
Thank you.
Capital is what is used with a life expectancy of 3 to 5 years. And
More than 3 to 5 years.
more than 3 to 5 years, and it's supposed to be a minimum of like
25,000.
25,000, thank you. The guy that's not business director. For about 25,000 or more, we can put to capital.
Okay, so in our regional agreement, it's $5,000 or more.
$5,000 or more is what? Well, let's see, now there's.
So this is why I'm
there's
asking.
two different things there. So in the regional agreement, which is still 1991, which is pre-ed reform, the 1991 regional agreement says if there's an expenditure over $5,000, then the regional school district would bill the town, and the town would pick it up because they own the buildings we lease from them. Now, that hasn't changed since 1990. 1991 was a great year. I turned 21, it was fun, but that's a while ago. So what we've done is, the rule of thought we've tried to do is that if it's things that can be accomplished under $5,000, we take care of it. If it's things that can be accomplished up until an insurance claim, we would try to take care of it. Our insurance claim hovers somewhere around $10,000. If it's over that, it goes to the town. For example, there's something that's probably going to the town in Hanson now because there's an issue with some skylights and things that keep leaking at one of the schools in Hanson. But that was it. There's also emergency expenditures, though, that gets confusing in the 1991 agreement to present. So it's not just capital. Like, for example, if you want an example of what capital is, the wireless access points were replaced last year. That's capital. It's about $328,000 for the district. We received half from what's called E-rate. I don't want to bore anybody. I lead a very boring life, evidently, as I'm talking. The FCC gives us a 50% reimbursement, so we're able to do that. If you want a real one, we're trying to get the pavement at this high school done. Except for the inner loop, which is the new loop, this is still the original tar and asphalt. If you park in the teacher's lot, if you park in the senior lot, it's a mess. So we're trying to do that. That's capital. That came in somewhere at about $948,000 was one, $988,000 was another, and we couldn't actually get three companies to bid because the job was too big for them. So that would be a capital at the high school based on a 60-40. 3 to 5 years, over 25,000, we would put it out.
Okay, so back to the original, everything does fall to the regional agreement. Ultimately, whether we're nice or we're not, it does fall to the regional agreement. Maybe a review with the towns of maybe
Of what?
of possibly looking at some capital that they could absorb.
Yeah, we do that every year. And so, so I think what Steve Boyce was mentioning the other day, and I think you brought it up or something, is that former business director Stanbrook went back all the way to, I believe, 2006.
Yes, he did.
Some things on the books. One of the things that was on the books was $13,000 for sidewalks. So we had to say, what was this plan originally from? The plan, I think, dated back to an older one that was, I think, at one of the schools, whenever they had it, late 90s, whatever, like middle school got something, Conley got something, Duval got something. I think it started from there, so we closed those out. And so those monies were returned. The other ones you look at, there was one that was from a technology grant when we did technology early on back in the days of the Craig Finley and the Chad Peters. That could still be applied to technology now, so we're able to use that money. So those things can definitely be looked at again. I just don't know, and I'm sure you'll let me know, I just don't know when you say, can we look at capital, we have to look at capital in regard to what we have as the regional agreement, like you said.
Yeah, in terms of the regional agreement, exactly, in terms,
Right.
and to see if that, of course, it sounds like maybe we've adjusted it
Yeah.
to the time, but maybe we can't afford to adjust it to the time.
I don't disagree with you.
Thank you.
So is that an ask? Like, what am I asking? Like,
How about I email you my ask
no,
for
I
the
don't-
next
I-
meeting?
Just for the sake of the group, I have one ask: is the scope of the past subcommittee work.
Yep,
I have to check on, did we move it out of a draft, because I wasn't involved in it.
Okay.
So then we have the ask of, I put dig out, but provide the 5-year plan and see where we're at with that.
yep,
Then we have the ask of large lists of all revenue sources. So,
abroad.
yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
broad.
So right now I have 3 asks.
Yep,
Okay.
and that's gonna be good, or?
So far, yeah, I'm in.
Right.
Good.
Oh, and then capital. There's one more, baby. We're going to look at a capital in the scope of what our regional agreement allows, that maybe we're a little flexible to probably work with the towns. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Okay, so my suggestion is to look at these documents. I know munis reports aren't the easiest read, but basically the categories are the budget, and then any transfers or adjustments. Then you have the revised budget column. Then you have the year-to-date actual expended to date. You have anything that's been encumbered, which means I hose you that money. We usually do that for large contracts. Some districts encumber payroll, most districts don't. But usually it's like your transportation contract, your copy of contract, graduation expenses, things you know are going to happen. You encumber that money so no one can, take it from you. Principals are pretty good at encumbering funds because they don't want to lose their money. And then the available budget is left over and the percent used to date. So those are the general categories. And every line, you have to look at it now. But you're leisurely reading while you're watching before the Patriots come on Thursday night. Utilities, for example. I was looking at utilities. Pretty much level funded our utilities. I mean, you guys probably all have a home, and I don't think your utility costs are level funded from last year. But again, that's what we're looking at now is what is our usage. And utilities, again, that's a crapshoot. You try to take your last few year averages, but you don't know on not only rate, but usage. There's two factors there. Then, of course, temperature kills you, and lights on all the time. I mean, we have a director that, or facilities manager, I guess, who we're going to task with, hit some lights. I mean, this place is like a Christmas tree, right? And I know it's a little bit of money, but that adds up quickly. It's a building this size. Heat is another one, and...
You don't like the heat?
No, it's cold in my office.
The room that you're in now is not the room that you're
Yeah,
in
no
now,
kidding.
It gets very cold and very hot. The reason why is that at the end of the hallways, you now have closed spaces. If you were here when the high school was first built, the end of all the hallways was there a fence above that. It's air handlers that move, but every one of those has a starting point and now an ending point. So this room was the starting point that was supposed to travel down the hall, come back, and come over. And so that's why, sadly, this room gets hot, and then at times this room gets cold. The other room that gets like that seems to be my office. So it just happens because the only explanation I was given when Johnson Controls was out here was that it's because we cap those and the free flow of air does not necessarily freely flow.
So these are reports that I think is appropriate to give to the committee at their monthly meetings. I know things are budget, but I would really recommend you spend some time on teaching and learning because these budget things take over and they don't let go. So I think, yes, at your budget meeting, your school committee meeting, which is once a month, if you're going to have twice a month, I would suggest the second meeting of the month be your budget meeting and the first meeting of the month be your curriculum meeting. But that's up to, obviously, you folks. But I think a report like this monthly, the year-to-date budget to actual, this is October 30th first. In November, this is what you'll get. In December, you'll get November 30th. And in January, you'll get December 31st and so forth. But then people can see, where we are in the budget. The bottom line is the very last page. And, it looks like let's see what it looks like. Hold on.
Brian printed it color, so yours will be
Yeah, you should give it black and gray.
they'll be in
So to date, we have
9 cents a color page.
a budget of 564. We spent 19 million to date. We've encumbered 8 million. We have 36 million left to spend, and that's basically payroll and unencumbered expense lines.
And this was emailed to us as well. I have dyslexia, so I need to change the font to read things well. So I changed the size.
Get you.
You the same?
Yeah, I think
I mean, I'll have a general and great, but I'm better at quick with my numbers when they're the right size.
And that's 26. So what do you want to talk about before I go into preparing for the next fiscal year?
So I have a question, and I'm fairly confident you're not going to have the answer to this because it was before you got here. But there are, in addition to what we're unfortunately going through right now, there were positions eliminated over the summer because the budget was reduced. We discussed a series of reductions proposed in June. We got an update in September of what was actually eliminated for positions that wasn't exactly what we talked about in June. But then there's a discrepancy between kind of what was advertised in June and what the budget lines reflect from the budget that we are operating off. So, like, if you look at the list of cuts we were given on September 10th, we eliminated one high school English teacher, but the high school salary line went down by $500,000. I can't imagine that an English teacher at this building is making $500,000.
Good teacher.
So I think my question is there a, and I'm sure that we don't have the answer to this offhand, but is there a document somewhere that connects the positions that were eliminated over the summer and where that was reflected in the GLs for this year?
So I would, in a moment, I'll defer to George, who may have some more insight than I do. But what my take is that the budget was reduced and positions were not eliminated. I think what I understand is the superintendent told the former business manager we need to reduce by 1.7 million or some close to that number.
I think that was the number, yeah.
And I think that their budget may have been reduced 1.7 million, but I don't know if it was ever followed up within the particular expense lines and salary lines. I mean, that's all the only answer I can think of. I don't know how else you could reduce a budget, but not only one person.
How about contracts or contracted? Didn't we, the last business manager, sorry, John Stambrook, what was his contract? I mean, there might have been a few.
I think what Brian said took place. I think there were cuts to the budget. I do not believe that there was clarity in where those cuts should be made. So I think on the one hand, I think it's all said. I think on the other hand, there is confusion. I don't know where it should be. And I think those questions have to be asked of someone other than myself because I'm the assistant.
Yeah, ultimately the superintendent's, it's his budget. Until it's voted on the school committee, then it's the school committee's budget. And I think this year, and not that I like all these hard questions, but I'm used to people saying there's $40 in that line. What's that for? And I go, oh, that's for 16 pencils for this classroom. Well, there's $380,000 in nurses. How many nurses do we have? Oh, we have 4 nurses making $80,000 each or something. So I don't know if those questions were ever asked. Like we talked to Jay Sullivan the other day. He said, what questions were not answered for you? So I asked those questions. Let's find out what each line is. Let's go through our utilities and our maintenance and our technology and our staffing and our transportation contracts. And I mean, this is ultimately your budget. I know the superintendent's taking the heat on it, but ultimately it's the school committee's budget.
Okay. I'm gonna clarify the record here.
Okay.
Because that's going to be a statement made over and over again.
What's that?
And this is your budget.
School committee's budget.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when we go in and ask for, and in the historically ask for information, it has led to accusations of vanity, and it's simple things like, what are the positions in each school? Pretty much what you've kind of provided us right here. So there has been discouragement from doing just what you said. And some of it has gone into what I would describe as harassment. And it has been a very difficult thing. So, yes, it's our budget. It is. But there has been actions to ensure that we don't know our budget. So, you're walking into something maybe unique to you've experienced in the past. But I'm coming from Whitman-Finance. I'm not coming from a place who's never seen a budget before. And I'm saying I couldn't vote the budget because it was so unclear. So,
but it passed, right? At some point, I would just say don't
you're
vote.
going to have to talk to other people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the vote was on the budget, but I assume it had a majority. It had to have a majority vote.
Yeah, it did.
So, the majority of the committee ultimately, and we're not here to. No one's doing this.
Nobody's doing that.
We have
But
to take ownership for our budget.
I think moving forward, that's got to be clear. It is our budget, our information, and we should know it inside and out and clearly. And we couldn't even, we're telling you, we don't even know where that came from. What line? It should have been voted line by line. It should have just,
I don't know
well,
line, but
I think at this point,
stuff like salaries and expenses by departments, by
at
schools.
least by cost centers.
If you vote line by line, it makes it very difficult in the business office for any transfers whatsoever. You know,
Yes,
and
it
the teachers know better than I do. These things come up. You know, oh my God, my student broke his iPad. He needs an iPad. Sorry, you got to go to school committee for that.
No, okay.
You don't want to do that.
Within,
Yeah,
Within
I would do it within
centers.
either function code.
yes, within
Either
function. And this
function
is,
code
you didn't even, I don't
or
think we did function.
area or salaries and
Yes.
expenses. Those are great ideas.
So can I just go back to TJ? Can you just clarify your question that you had about the
Teacher.
the teacher?
$5,000 teacher.
Right. So the answers that came up
That was the example that I used. But
right.
digging a little, using someone else's information that was provided, but digging into this, like we presented in the June meeting that, for example, an elementary school teacher was going to save $70,000 if that position was eliminated over the summer, and then the elementary school salary line went down by $100,000 over the summer, with no clear explanation of where that other $30,000 came from. There are no adjustments to the paraprofessional lines in the elementary schools from what was voted in June, or voted in March, April. When was the original? March, right?
That's why I say March.
From March to June to September. And there were paraprofessional positions cut, so maybe those were accidentally lumped together or not accidentally lumped together. I can't speak to that. But it just, like, we were given a kind of a spending plan of, like, this is what we propose to cut, this is what each of those is going to save, and that's how we get to 1.7 million and change. And then those weren't exclusively and entirely the positions that were either not filled or cut over the summer. And the numbers, the math doesn't math, as the kids say.
Math doesn't math. I like it.
Yes. Yes.
So I understand that maybe the person that answers that question isn't in the room today, but I think it's something that we need to be paying attention to. That
you do, and you absolutely.
You know,
you ask good questions.
the high school sped salaries line went down by $200,000, but then we're hearing that we had 170 more sped students in the district. So how are we cutting sped districts anyway?
Right, and those are questions that should and need to be answered.
Sorry, I'm not trying to pile on you.
No,
I understand that you might not have these answers.
Some of the issues that usually happen are there. For example, when you look at a paraprofessional, it gets confusing. There are different levels of paraprofessionals. There are paraprofessionals who are duty aid who are still in what's called Unit D. Duty aids are the people who do lunches. There are paraprofessionals who are in your kindergarten, which are non-sped paras. There are paraprofessionals who are inclusion and or in programs that are sped paras. I will say the district has done a good job in defining what those 6 roles are and putting money in those things. So we then also moved our paraprofessionals to district employees located at a certain building. Every time a paraprofessional comes on or they get their contract, it says a district paraprofessional in the role of number 2 inclusion located at Conley School. Please see your principal for whatever, this is your hourly pay rate. So we've done a good job of that. What we haven't done a good job is getting as granular as needed to be to make sure that all of those pieces I just described are reflected properly in every budget line. Some of the reason for that is this. George Farrell's an aide. He doesn't, I'm hired as the lunch guy, right? So I work my lunch shift. I love the kids who are at the lunch shift for 4 hours a day or whatever. I work 19 and a half hours a week. But then because I'm a good person, that lady had the next person who's the number 2, who's a classroom instruction para, also is a teacher, and the teacher goes out on maternity, so that aide becomes the long-term sub-teacher. We backfill the aide who's now going to take that person's place, or I get promoted because I still have extra hours and I want extra hours, and we do those things. We have not done a good job of clarifying every single one of those moves in the budget. It needs to be done. It hasn't. For example, I just found one today that is a paraprofessional aide salary for librarians. We have some library aides who are category 5s or 6s in our budgetary process, and one of them was listed under librarian. So for example, at that school, the library line at that school is in the hole by $9 million. By $9,000. But the line above it is in the plus for $49,000 or whatever it is that person makes. So it does take continuous look. But every question you ask is the proper one that should have an answer.
And I think that's partially on us for not paying that level of attention ourselves too. But I think it needs to be an ongoing conversation and an ongoing.
Well, I think it also needs to be the
exercise.
Focus.
The exercise that says, or I'll put it on sides because nobody wanted to sit with me, so I'll put it on sides. Okay? TJ did, so thank you. Are we all coming to the table with intent to do what's best for the kids in Whitman-Hanson? If we are, then yes, there's going to be questions, there's going to be mistakes, and we should be able to move through those. But if one side for whatever reason or the other side for whatever reason, and it's rah, then rah doesn't always work best either. So I think we need to get to a place where, hey, this is what we have. We can work through it, see what we can do. This is what the questions are, but we know that we're going to try to get to the end result. So because that's what we should do.
So just to clarify the example that you gave,
Yeah.
a lunch aid gets moved up into a classroom aid because there is
New appointment letter.
New appointment
letter.
but that is not necessarily being like tracked in the budget.
It can be, but what I'm saying is that that's where the power lines, as the budget is now laid out, aren't as clear and clean as the contract, let's say, is, which is very, very clear
Right.
and clean. And I've learned a lot about Munis and reports and things. I don't know how to change the root level of accounts in Munis. But that's the attention to detail when you're cooking with gas the whole way, that should take place. What I will say, though, is that the bottom line of paras should still be in line and not over or under. That's what I would say.
So, just
Sure.
clearing it up, cooking with gas. So when our checks and balances are in place,
Yeah.
and is that something that you're here to ensure? Okay, thank you.
And TJ's great question. Like I said the other night, it's an art and a science. We want a science. We want all these numbers to work. But like George is saying, it's very artsy. It's messy. And there's movement, and you're not going to track it in your budget. Your original appropriation still remains the same. You make a budget adjustment to move a para from, a classroom to a library.
If you just look at the long-term sublines, those are the definition of an art and a science. Because, for example, we had a teacher who the week before school started said, I can't come in, I have a family issue, I need to access my sick time, I don't know how long I'm going to be out. So already that is going to go over that line because that person has the ability with accrued sick days they've been here that they're going to still get their pay and probably not work. So that line's shot. But the bottom line shouldn't be. The bottom line should be, if it's $350,000, I think it is, for the whole school for long-term sublines, that's the bottom line. And now sometimes I think it was like in 2000, I don't know, I remember I was a principal, but everybody was having children. And like literally, I think it was Conley maybe? Conley had like 9 maternities. And as a result of that, there was the opportunity, if needed, if things were proper, to access either circuit breaker funds if they were special ed, or E&D if it came to it, because that was an extraordinary thing that couldn't be planned for. But when it comes to who's where, who's cut, and the result, those things should be cleaned up.
So you have a plan for
Oh, I have one more. I do. I'm just trying to see where it is. All this paper. Oh, I think it's right here. Yes. So, again, all comes down to budgeting right now, right, for next year. So we're not in this mess. This is a draft calendar that we're going to share with the committee next week. I'm glad we had a budget subcommittees because I'd like you to present this to the committee after you make tweaks or changes. Because, again, it's a school committee budget. The superintendent is going to create it. He's going to, put it in a package for you. This has about 40 deliverables. It's already started. We're a little late now because we're on November 12th. But basically, you go through the entire process of setting up a budget subcommittee on November, whenever, today, review the budget calendar and discuss the FY27 budget. Again, we would ask the budget subcommittee and the full committee to set budget goals. What do they want to maintain class size? They want to focus on student safety. They want to work on capital projects. Whatever your goals of the committee is how we'll create the budget. However, I think right now the goal is just to open the doors in 27. So if you go through this list, I put in some dates that fit your calendars with the backfill of town meetings in May and June. So the first thing, obviously, is the capital requests, which I put in red, anything capital, because I think the capital process has already commenced in this district, or not. But
One thing is proposed.
one thing is proposed for FY27.
Yeah, for
Next
paving.
year.
That's
Paving,
it.
yeah.
I haven't, we have it, we sent it to Whitman. Their subcommittee meets differently than their capital committee in the town. Meets different than Hanson does. We met with some people who were doing a program for Hanson to try to help with their capital, and we gave them that piece. So roughly, Brian, it goes to we have a subcommittee for technology, operations, and capital, and as a result of that, we prioritize our needs. It goes before that subcommittee. If that subcommittee, we answer questions, give quotes, say our reasoning. It then goes to our full committee. If our full committee then goes for it and accepts it, we then push that to the towns. Usually, sometimes the towns say, well, we only have $400,000. Can you prioritize that? Or, yes, we can do that, or we can do that. But that aspect usually takes place in October for us.
Capital, okay. So the first step on November 12th, which is today, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll have to adjust some dates, is that we'd give a budget preparation package to all budget managers, which are principals and directors. Okay. And then we'd also share a Google form with them for FY27 staffing requests. Just because we're cutting currently doesn't mean there's going to be needs in certain areas. We might need a second music teacher, or we might need another nurse or an additional nurse. I don't know what the needs are of the district, but the directors, the managers will. And then on the 19th, we'll meet monthly in the leadership meetings, and the budget subcommittee meeting will meet. I like to meet, again, it's your call, it's your committee, prior this, like if you're going to have a school committee meeting at 6:30, meet maybe like at 5 or 5:30 with this committee. That way you're not pulling you out 2 nights on a work week, because I know a lot of members have children and so forth and jobs. But I'd like to have a monthly budget subcommittee meeting. We'll at the next meeting, the 19th, it would be great if the school committee would approve this budget calendar, just so we can put it on the website, so everyone knows what we're doing, when we're doing it. I think everything should be on the website. And December 19th, December 4th, the managers will have their expense budgets in. And then December 4th would be the deadline for your staffing and expenses to the central office. At that point, we'll have individual meetings with the principals. The principal wants, X amount of dollars for supplies, materials, travel, whatever it might be. We'll go through those lines with them individually. And then we'll meet with the special ed team, the special ed director, the building principals, and talk sped staffing. Because at the end of the day, that's where your money is. It's in your special ed staffing. Because, again, with 690 special ed students and all on IEPs, they're the service grids, it's a lot of people you need. So let's make sure that what happens sometimes is a student will move out of district and go to a private school, a residential school, whatever, and then the principal takes the para and moves them to another classroom, moves them around. I'm like, when the kid goes, the para goes. That's the way it works. If you have a one-to-one and the one is gone, well, guess what? So isn't the other one. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
So, and that happens all the time. It's so common for that student that the para is the aid is hired for is no longer in the district, but we'll just use that para somewhere else. And that's how you staff it so bloated. So let's look at our teams. Let's look at our paras, our schedules, our service grids. We'll meet with the principals and say and the special ed director, what is truly needed in terms of psychologists and OTs and PTs. And I think we have 9 SLPs in this district. Speech language pathologists. I think there's 9. I don't know if that's a good number, appropriate number or not. I know that from my experience, 9 is a very high number, but maybe we have ton of students with speech issues in this district. I don't know, but we'll have those conversations. And after we do our special ed staffing, we'll have budget subcommittee meeting in December. Capital requests go on, and then we meet with the special ed director, who's ever in charge of the technology director, the facilities director, the curriculum instruction director. If we even have those people in place, which I don't think we do, but yeah, I'll be sick of looking at George. But we go through each of their budgets. Facilities is a big budget. That's a big one. And again, my experience is that you spend most of your money in facilities, technology, and special ed. And we'll go through those budgets and make sure we're all on the same page. We know exactly the $90,000 for contracts. We have a list of all the contracts that add up to $90,000. If not, what are the contracts that we need? How much do they cost? This is what we're going to budget. So there's no guessing in FY27.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so just when you're talking about, we have 9.
Speech language pathologists.
The speech. We have historically sort of kept at the lower levels. We've not truly regionalized. So sometimes programs end up being split. Is there any way to sort of centralize things to ensure? Are we hiring 2 different people because
At this point in time, I don't believe so. I believe that the
streamline
needs of the people we have are based on the needs of the students we have.
Right.
Okay,
That's the hope.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe so, but we haven't.
But we're going to look at service grids. We're going to look at class sizes for every teacher in the district.
Yep.
We're going to look at workplace responsibilities for everybody in the district. And that's what, class sizes. I think you did that in your pretty good job in your budget presentation last year. I'm not quite sure how accurate that is, or maybe they are, maybe they're not. I have no idea. I just read that little book that I was given. But let's look at every class size in every school, and every class, and every teacher's caseload, every paraprofessional's caseload, every special ed teacher's caseload, every nurse's caseload, every guidance counselor. I don't know how many guidance counselors we have, but the ratio is like 500 to 1. They like to be 250 to 1. But at high school this size, how many counselors do we have? How many adjustment? How many are guidance? We'll do all that. We'll do all that work this year. I assume it's been done in the past. I don't know if it hasn't, but we're going to do it for FY27.
And we're going to use our plan to sort of shape where we're going, or we'll have to vote the 2028 plan.
23 to 28 plan?
Yep, the 2028 plan to sort of guide us to some degree on.
Yeah,
some degree.
It held pretty true for the growth that we've had, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And then when Brian's talking about what he's talking about, all of those things on some level are done. I think this codifies it and puts it in a clearer perspective for everyone.
Okay.
So when you go home for the holiday break, my goal will be have a superintendent's draft budget ready for you. I'm not sure if the superintendent will have that ready, at least be ready by the 12th of January, but I'd like to, when everyone goes home for the holidays, here's something you can read over the holidays, and that's the draft budget. On January 12th, his budget recommendation will be done, and on the 14th, he'll present his budget, or she will present, Superintendent Jeff Simonak will present the budget to the school committee, and then you'll have your public hearing on the budget, you'll have your time to ask questions, draft, bring people in, whatever you want to do. But I think if this budget subcommittee is in the process the entire way, I don't have to present a budget. You're going to present the budget because you know it inside and out, and this is your budget that eventually will be your budget. We'll have a public hearing. You'll vote to adopt the budget hopefully on February 25th. If needed, March 4th. And otherwise, we're doing budget 12 months a year.
It always, obviously, we live in a regional school district. Usually after the public hearing, then it goes long. With the final, we always go by the final date that you have to have it done by. So that 45 days, it can be posted for 45 days for the town meeting, which is the first week in May.
Yeah, I think I wrote the 45 days in there somewhere. But at the end of the day, then we want to include in the spring the town finance committees, the budget subcommittee, and then let them be involved through the process. So it's not going to town meeting as surprises, or people not showing up at giant crowds at meetings, because everyone knows what's going on, and it's all on the website. But the key here is to have a backup for every single line of the budget. So anyone can just go to the website and see what's in the budget. And then they don't call me. I'll just say if they do, I just say go to the website. But they can still call me. So anyway, this is a draft calendar. I would ask you to look at it, and then we'll bring it to the full committee next week, and you can talk about if you think it's a good idea or bad idea or whatever.
This looks very good.
But I think it starts with just setting budget priorities. And our priorities, it sounds like now, is just open the doors. I mean, we all know that there's a collective bargaining agreement. I think it's 3% next year, 3.25% or something. It's like $1 million, and I'm worried about that. It's just like, so
are you
salaries are going up before we even start the fiscal year, and that means the towns have to give us the COLAs or the contractual agreements.
Are you talking?
Otherwise, we're cutting.
There's one codified. I mean, there's one that was agreed, and then we're still negotiating the other ones.
Well, the big ones are obviously staff, the teachers. I think they're locked in, right? The teachers are locked
Yeah,
in?
Unit A is.
Yeah.
Unit A, yeah. That's where the money is. I mean,
That is the largest piece.
yeah, you're talking 50 grand, 60 grand,
I mentioned once we also have the bus contract that we do with Abington that's up. We also have the paper. The paper.
I'm sorry, George. Transportation contract is up in June?
Yeah, we do it in conjunction with Abington. So we always have been, and because we get a better rate. So that's up.
So we need to go out to bid for that.
Yep, that's already in the works.
It is?
Yeah, because we traditionally, since I came on board, Abington seems to do that, so they're working with Karen Villanueva, who's our transportation director, and we're moving forward on that. We'll also have to go out to bid on our SJ services because we're up in the last year of our years that it's like a 3 and then a 1-1, so that will be up, and then.
Oh, time out now. So cleaning contract
Yep.
is a 3 + 1 + 1, and we're in the second +1?
Yes,
So that needs to go out to bid.
yes. And then we also have
Or not?
I have to check on it, I believe we're in year 1 of the 2-year extension for paper. Not paper, for copies. Something else.
Copy contract? Was that Conica Minolta?
That's with the Smart Center. It's a separate. Collegiate Press is the actual name.
See, now I'm going to lose some sleep tonight. And I hope, I don't want to cause any alarms, but when 2 contracts are going up, that's a complete unknown. Transportation is very parochial, and they got you. I mean, we're going to have a pre-bid conference. It'll be like maybe 6, we'll send it out to 150 bus people around the country.
Let me get first student.
3 or 4 will show up at the pre-bid conference. 1 will submit a bid, and they got you. They're very parochial, the transportation contractors. So that's scary to me. Janitorial, if this is the 5th year, I'm sure we got a good deal 5 years ago, but this year now again, there's not a lot of contractors out there that do this work, and if they do, it's tough.
I say this is the 3rd full contract we've had with SJ Services. The other bids that we received the last time I was on the committee, that when we opened the packaging, when that day was, and everyone they were the lowest again, and everyone who had presented used to work for them. So it was this thing. But that was with SJ Services. And Collegiate Press, we're actively trying to work on reducing our color costs. Until recently, I was the most hated man in the district for
color's out.
copies.
This is your last color you're going to see.
Things, but I will say that we have done a good job in the district of reducing our paper and our color costs.
Okay. It's expensive. Everything's expensive. But
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's talk about the calendar. Anything you want to add to that or think about? Things I might have missed. So I'd ask you to take some time and go through it and just see, always did this in the past. That's not there. And throw it on. And eventually it's going to shift and mend and change a little bit. It's going to be a fluid document, but at least it's on the website and everyone knows what to do when we're going to do it.
I think there was conversation with Whitman Finance to get in just a preliminary budget, whether to set the tax rate or whatever, earlier. Of course, right now we're in November, so kind of late for that, but in terms of maybe next year, just something that gives a general direction, or we have more special ed or something, then this might be the cost, or there was conversation in terms of that. or, starting first with your school budget.
I think it's going to be a long road. It's not going to be a fix overnight. I mean, people look at me for answers. I want to do the very best I can. I'm going to give you an honest day's work. But at the end of the day, this is going to take time. And it's going to take everybody. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying that. It's going to take everybody, the committee, the towns, the selectmen, and the finance committees, the association, the admin, the teachers, obviously, the families, the values of the community. We all got to dig in because those three big expenses, the COLA, the transportation, and the cleaning. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to be honest and direct. It's you're going into a tough fiscal year next year, and because we're not even out of this year. We just closed last year in a hole. This year we're in a hole. We need to get out and get even so we can see where we need for 27. And the town's not inheriting. They're going to win the $950 million megabucks this weekend. But we can't turn on each other. Be honest with you, I felt the people attacking me the other night. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
I think you're walking into something that historically there has been I don't knows, and we had $4.5 million. I would describe as diverting out of education and different, misrepresentation of how it started, who did that, all of that. So you're walking into a place of lack of trust, and you have some empathy. I
just think we get more together, right?
Yeah.
You get more together.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to ask the chair. At one point, can we do an overview of the meeting with Desi? And of course, since people are here, that we had last week, this week.
On the 7th, last Friday.
Yeah.
So you're saying that
Just
for
to give
another meeting or
right, just
or tonight?
Tonight, is that a problem or?
Oh no,
your choice.
I just wasn't sure what you were saying. I just wanted
He's mentioned some things from the
FY
meeting.
26 has a big,
it has a big
tent.
Yeah, it's a big tent. But you had mentioned things from, bringing people together and sunshine, being transparent were things that Jay Sullivan had mentioned.
So George has had his hand raised. So
I was just going to sum up because I think this is the framework of probably your next agenda also, and then I want to know my tasks.
What's that, the Desi meeting? Or this meeting?
No, this meeting here. So put it on the next agenda maybe.
okay.
Am I doing it? Or
Doing what? Reviewing what we need to do?
What we've done today.
Before you get to that, I think the goal now is to manage, and this is right from the DESI and the DOR, was manage the situation now. Manage it. Which means the FY26 budget, day-to-day operations of the district has to be our focus right now. It's just getting through this year while, the plane's flying. I'm going to build it for 27. But we got to spend our efforts right now just managing the day-to-day operations of the budget. And what happens is we just get sidetracked with questions and questions and questions and questions and questions. And TJ's asked me questions. I know you're not going to have an answer to it. I'm like, I'm getting hundreds of those questions. It's like, I'm not even going to respond. I'm just going to work on 26. So,
you had mentioned when we're doing our meetings, we do one for budget and one for student needs. Is this to clarify?
I think if you're going to have 2 meetings a month, don't have budget both of them, because then we're losing the focus of our kids. I don't. Some people don't like to see the dog and pony shows with the kids, but those students last month, those seniors, those kids are unbelievable. And we have to. And those little kids that came up with the little projects. Was that this district?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. They were amazing. And that brings. That's why we're here, and that brings us the joy and the love and of what we do. But the budget, don't let it take over the whole district, because it will.
We're doing one meeting a month.
Yeah.
And sometimes not doing it at all during the month. Yeah. And more than half of that meeting was...
No, it's probably appropriate to have more than one.
Yeah, I think that's what MASC has pointed to as, we really do, we should be looking to do more than one, particularly on budget season. Yeah. And of course, we absolutely should be highlighting our kids and celebrating our children. I think Music Month was great. We get a chance to see the kids. I would agree with you.
You don't want to meet just to meet, but you want to have focused, targeted,
and the work of
thoughtful.
The teachers, the work they've done, and I would agree with that. But
because then the community see the value of what they're spending the money on.
Certainly, there could be a lot more of inclusion of the community, I would agree, but not that without the budget.
Right. Yep. Makes sense.
So as far as the conversation about DESI, do you think it's appropriate? Because you were on that call and we weren't.
How about
do you think it's more appropriate to do that at the next budget subcommittee meeting to have time to prepare, or do you think it needs to be discussed now? I'll defer to you because you were at that meeting.
Yes, you know something, I was not the only one at that meeting.
Well, I guess of our committee, what I mean,
As a
TJ and I were not there.
Just to clarify it, it's on our committee agenda for Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay, so then
All
why
right.
don't we
It's
save
on
it?
the, it's on
And
the
Jay
agenda
Sullivan,
for
you
the
might know.
entire committee.
Yeah, Jay Sullivan
Okay.
is supposed to be there.
He's the
And so-
Deputy Commissioner of Finance and
Yeah.
Operations.
Yes.
of
Yep,
DESI.
yep.
The agenda for
Quite a
Wednesday
bit.
night was posted today,
Okay.
and that is one of them.
So Jay's coming for
It
that.
doesn't say if Jay is coming, but it says that there is
I don't
a.
think he committed to it.
I thought he did commit to it.
To the 19th?
Not to the 19th, but he said he
Look,
would
he will
come
come,
down.
yeah.
Invited, he'd do everything he can if he was invited to come down. I don't think we discussed a date.
Okay, so we don't, all right, so it is not that Jay's on, we're going to be discussing.
There is a discussion item for the results of the Zoom meeting with DOR and DESI.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll
During the
save,
meeting,
It does
he
not
said-
specify Jay.
Right. During the meeting, it said, if there's an opportunity that you could come and discuss and talk to the committee or whatever, would you do that?
Yep.
And he said, if I am free or something, I'd be more than happy.
he'd be more than happy
But
to.
I don't think we
There was no date set. Okay, so I
You want to
think,
reach out to him and ask him if he can come on the 19th? Because
Well,
it's already on the agenda?
I think would be most appropriate is if that's feasible, that I think that's great. But I think if it's a conversation right now, you have it in the main committee and then it comes back to subcommittee in this regard. So we have an overview of our direction with DESI and DOR. Thoughts?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I hadn't seen the agenda yet for Wednesday.
Did he
so-
record that? I had asked for it to be recorded. I don't know.
you were, I don't,
I was
I don't
with
know
Jeff.
either.
Yeah.
I didn't see the icon.
I didn't see the icon either. So that's why I asked again. And
It was that Deborah Wagner from the DOR was her meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, she owned the meeting, right, Deborah Wagner?
Yep. Deborah.
She might have. But I didn't, usually on a meeting,
It has a,
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it either. That was, but I guess I didn't. Had asked the wrong person. Thanks.
No, and maybe not to this extent, but I can promise you, every district's having these same conversations, just not as public and probably not as grand scale.
Right, and like I
But
said,
they're all struggling right now.
you're coming into a district that has had some issues with trust.
Yeah.
And of course, we were in the lower 1% of funding for a long time, which probably played a part in where we're at. So,
Now, George, I think you wanted to go. Did you want to go over your?
Yeah, I just want to know, and
Your honey-do
it
list?
looks like kind of like the next steps in the agenda process, if I may. So, obviously, there's going to be some things, some deliverables that we're going to bring to the committee. One is going to be the state of the scope of the subcommittee, and if any what was done, if any changes need to be made. Two is a look at and a review of the 5-year plan, which culminates in FY28. 3 is what is the list of revenue sources. 4 is capital language of the regional committee agreement and the towns. 5 is to review and answer any budget calendar questions. 6 is and review and answer to the best of our ability budget lines Q&As from what you received today.
I have a clarification on my capital there. It wasn't just the definition. It was, does anything fall within the exact definition of the agreement that we haven't billed the towns because we've made some sort of looser, more current, in people's minds
Yeah,
version? I mean, so maybe that can't be done right away, but
yeah.
overall.
I can look at what we done
Could-
for projects over 5,000 if
Yeah, I mean, I generally, when I do the warrants, I make notes.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure I'll talk about something with that, and then you'll let me know what it is I missed, so we can try to figure it out together. Is that fair? Like, I'll bring what I.
I think
you're at.
Stephanie's going to be the best one for that.
Okay, I'll try to bring.
Pull it together.
What I think.
It's a conversation
Sure, yeah.
that we could
yeah.
probably
I
start.
just want to be prepared. Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else that we want to?
Did you want to set the next meeting now?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we have our next,
Well, let's look at our budget calendar.
for the 19th?
Oh,
Next week at whatever time.
oh, I said 5:30 before the school committee meeting, but I don't know if we have to.
George, I think technically we're supposed to have an operations and capital meeting at 5:30 next week,
Correct.
which you and I are both supposed to be at.
Well, today was a bonus anyway, so
So do we want to?
Do we have a meeting? I don't have the
School committee meeting the
On the-
19th
and the 4th?
6:30.
do we have one on the 4th too, or did I?
We should have one on the 4th. I think we'll see. I think that's going to shift and change.
No, I don't think the 3rd was the. I don't. It wasn't the first week.
Is it the 4th?
It wasn't.
I'll-
It wasn't the first week because the discussion for mask was to come either the 1st or 3rd week because we were going to meet the
The
2nd.
3rd, yeah.
So I think our calendar meeting date is the 10th or 11th, whatever that Wednesday is.
Yeah, it's 10th.
Yeah, we have one listed for the 10th.
Okay.
Or
That's a budget with principal.
so the one concern then would be
There seems to be
if
a
we're
lot.
supposed to bring this calendar to the school committee at the meeting next week, we need to discuss this before the meeting.
So, I
Next
mean, we
week.
could make since we've already presented our capital, I mean, if it's okay, TJ, you're on the committee, I guess I'll ask you, we could swap and do this at 5:30 and put that off, knowing that on the 4th we have another one. Capital doesn't get big again until the towns reach out so we can discuss what's taking place.
I mean, Mr. Boyce chairs the capital sub, so it would be up to him officially.
So I can,
I think-
with your permission, I can reach out to him if you want.
I don't feel like there's anything that couldn't wait a couple more weeks in the operations and capital agenda.
So I'll check with Mr. to,
no, I don't think we really need to meet on the 19th. Is that the day we're talking right now?
yeah.
I think the committee's going to get this. You get your eyes on it ahead of time, so at least you're versed in it. I don't think you have to vote on it. I think you just say, listen, we already talked about this. This is some ideas, and
Can we vote to send it to the committee?
well, they're going to get it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
It's certainly going to be in the packet. The next
Tonight,
meeting.
probably not, because there's nothing for FY27 on the agenda.
You could put this as a reading item. You could put this as a reading item and then mention it in, is this subcommittee on the agenda?
Yes.
For Wednesday,
Yeah.
yes, there's a budget subcommittee update on the
Right,
agenda
so
for
you
the whole
could
committee.
you could put that as a reading item, and then you can refer to it when you do the budget subcommittee report.
Yep.
You could refer to, hopefully you've all seen it, it is a reading item. Hopefully you can look at it, and then maybe they can reach back out to you or the chair of the whole committee with questions, but at least you could get it out there that way.
It doesn't even have to be voted, really. It's just like basically, it's going to shift and change, and there'll be snow days or ideas, whatever. But I think the idea is to have something out there that people can see. This is what we're going to do for our budget process.
Yeah, and I think you could just do that. You could just take a nod of approval that we're going to move forward with this. And if there are individual questions, please either put it through the chair of the subcommittee or the chair of the school committee. But that at least would enter it into the record as a subcommittee piece to make sure that the process is out there.
So what are we thinking about our next meeting date?
So we have a meeting on a full school community on the 10th. Do we feel like we want to meet before that, like on the week before the 3rd?
If you're shifting, I think you can.
Well, if we're not going to meet next week, there's no point in me to shifting operations and capital.
Okay, that's what I'm. I
George and I
guess,
can just go to operations and capital, and then that would leave presumably nothing on the 10th besides the meeting we already have booked.
Here we go. Policy sub. We're also on policy sub. This is just.
I don't.
So December 10th at 5 p.m.
Yeah, the policies.
Oh, okay, good. So yeah, so we could do, you could do one on the 10th, is it?
Yeah.
December 10th would work.
You could do
Okay.
All right.
Budget sub 5:30 on the 10th. preview
Okay.
to that.
okay.
Budget sub 5:30 on the 10th.
I would say it's better in a room like this, but it's up to you. Because people come and go and get there early for that meeting, and it's like this, I don't know. It's up to you.
Okay. No, I think it makes sense to have it in a space separate from
Yeah.
where the other meetings happen, because people are getting in, they're setting up and stuff, so we could have not be disturbed while we're working on it up
So
till
let
the
Jen know what we.
yeah.
That's what I'm-
So
So I'll work with Jen on that.
12:10 5:30
I can book it now.
budget, so, yeah, we'll book the room and she'll let you guys know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let it be written. Let it be done.
All right. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait.
So before you do,
Okay.
can we just
Kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's your
that's
meeting.
all right. No.
So just how are you feeling about this process? And I just think that what we can do as leaders is kind of like turn the volume down a little bit on all this stuff and just focus on the work, focus on the people that are being impacted by the work that we're doing. And again, I don't have all the answers. I'm going to give you an honest effort. But people think I wore a cape to the meeting last week. I'm like, settle down. So if you need something, just reach out to me, send me an email. I'll do my best to get to it. But I think items that the committee needs, go to I'm all about protocol. Go through the chair comes here, go to the chair to the people, the committee. Same thing at the school committee. I would only deal with Jeff. Jeff would deal with Beth. Beth would deal with the committee, But is there any feedback you want to give me before I
As a
see you on the
committee
19th?
or the chairs? Are you asking the chair?
I'm asking all of you
Yeah.
as a group, like what feedback do you want to give to me so I can make sure I'm better prepared or
But I think,
meeting your needs?
yeah, I think transparency, making sure that everything we do is out there and very clear. And I think you said, put this on the website, put these other pieces of material, anything we speak about, really available to the public. I think that there's a sense, I think it will ease tensions and empathize when we're speaking to people, speaking with empathy to the situation. Parents are nervous, taxpayers are nervous,
Yeah.
and it's hard to be the person that they're yelling at, but we've all had it, but you've got to understand that's what we signed up for, and it is our responsibility ultimately, particularly as school committee members, and when you get a paycheck, it's less so, but it is still so.
Okay.
So just make sure we're respectful and we do our best, and that's what in our communications with our constituents.
TJ, right?
I think one question I had, we talked about like the year-to-date budgets, by month. Is that coming to this committee, the subcommittee, or to the school committee as a whole?
Well, it'll be in the 19th. It'll be in the packet,
Okay.
but
so we'll
also
see
one
it.
for you folks every time we meet.
We'll see it twice, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one they're going to get is one you have in front of you. I'm going to give them October's report in November.
Could also be run separately if you want. When's we meet right before the meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, it was like an off, you know what I mean? You could run it today, right now.
Yeah, but I'm an month-end person. I don't like these mid-month reports.
But that could get confusing.
Gets messy, right?
Obfuscate.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. No, and I just want to clarify too. So the document I shared with Brian and the administration from the report I will send to the both of you. And I guess now that we are constituted, I can, as the chair of the subcommittee, send documents to you in advance of the meetings, which I don't think I could before. So we'll make sure that anything that is going to be discussed beforehand, we'll make sure that whether it's from the central office or it's from Brian, through me, will be disseminated to the two of you beforehand.
With the agenda. Yeah.
With the agenda, yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
So,
And that becomes public document. Right?
okay. Was there any other documents that were, this is the only one I think that was discussed that was not?
The only one that was discussed that was not on the agenda, that was not previously available
Right.
to public, through other meetings or whatnot, was the one from the town.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the documents that Mr. Hyde has handed out as well.
Right.
Those as well, the calendar.
So, okay. Anything else?
No?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second? Oh, I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Brian.